Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 1. As is the norm with all my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. If there's one thing that Fear the Walking Dead has a good track record with, then it's season premieres. Although I may dislike the 4th and 5th season of the show, I still think the season premieres from those seasons are pretty damn good. Season 4 Episode 1 is a really solid episode about Morgan making his way to Texas. It also introduces us to John Dory, who I found to be instantly likeable, and it ends with this really cool cliffhanger in which the original cast members will appear at the end, and yeah, it's just a solid episode. Season 5 Episode 1 is a bit dumb, but I would argue that it's dumb fun. I mean, there's a lot of action in this episode, and I would say it's actually more exciting than everything else that came later on in that season. And as for Season 6 Episode 1, well, I would say that is arguably one of the best episodes of the entire show. And you know, that's not forgetting the Season 1 to 3 premieres as well. I mean, the Season 3 premiere I think is also a fantastic episode, so Fear has a very good track record when it comes to season premieres, and here we are yet again, and the question is, can Fear produce yet another solid season premiere? And my answer to that question would be yes. I think this is another damn good season premiere. The episode does have its flaws for sure, which I will talk about a bit later, but overall I thought this was a very entertaining episode. It was much better than the episodes in 6B in my opinion, which I didn't really like, and yeah, it reminded me a lot of 6A in the way that it only really focused on one or two characters as opposed to 6B, which kind of struggled to juggle Fear's massive cast in my opinion. And overall I just thought it was a really good start to the new season. This episode does remind me a lot of the season 6 premiere in terms of its structure, because it begins by introducing us to a new character, much like the season 6 premiere did when it introduced us to Emil, and the episode ends with that new character dying. So Emil dies and the new character Will, who's introduced in this episode, also dies, but I'll get to that a bit later. The first 10 or so minutes of this episode focus on Will as he tries to navigate the post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear launch wasteland, and there's very little dialogue at all in this first 10 minutes. I mean, most of it is just about setting the scene and showing Will's sense of isolation. I mean, we see him struggle on his own. We see him in his van counting off the number of days since it's been since the nukes dropped. We see him crying in the woods on his own, and you know, I really like this scene. I really like the opening. I like the sense of isolation that it created, and even though I know nothing about Will, you know, I knew next to nothing about him from this opening, it made me feel for him without actually having any dialogue in place, which I think is good, because you know, often on The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead, we often get characters who have these long monologues and they try to make us feel bad for them by talking about characters who we know nothing about. You know, oh, my sister's friend was murdered, and it's like, I don't care. Whereas in this episode we have a dude who didn't say anything, but I still felt for him, you know, and that's good. I think that just shows that, you know, sometimes less is more. Sometimes you don't have to have characters, you know, talking about people who died who we know nothing about. Just show me a character struggling. Show me a character struggling to get by, and I can empathize with them more than you having, you know, someone talk to me for 20 minutes about how their sister's nan's cat was abducted, because I don't really care. I also thought the opening was really beautifully shot, and you know that I don't really have a keen eye for this sort of stuff. I don't really notice it. It normally just goes over my head, but I don't know, I think coming into this episode on the back of The Walking Dead, on the back of the last episode especially of The Walking Dead, it just made everything in The Walking Dead seem so bland in comparison. I mean, I know that, you know, a nuclear wasteland, it's kind of the same yellows, same colours, but it still felt more vibrant than, you know, an attack at Pope's place in the middle of the night that happened in the last episode of The Walking Dead. I don't know, just watching this, it was more visually appealing to me than the latest season of The Walking Dead has been. I was worried about the nuclear setting coming into this season, but I don't know, I think this episode pulled it off. I think it looked really good. I think there were some lovely shots as well. I mean, look at this scene in particular where we see the reflection on Will's gas mask when he's in the lighthouse. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like there was a really high production value put into this episode. And I know Fear does tend to kind of go all out on its premieres anyway, so perhaps that's why I felt this episode looked so good. But I don't know. I just think, especially compared to the late season of The Walking Dead, you know, I just looked at this episode and I was like, it looks like they spent more money on this show than The Walking Dead, which feels weird because The Walking Dead's in its final season, you know, and it's the more popular show. But I don't know, I was watching this and I was like, yeah, it looks like they put more effort into Fear, based on this episode anyway. So it was a good, gave me a good first impression. I think it looks really nice, this episode. Anyway, to cut a long story short, Will is surrounded by this group of men and he tries to run away and he trips himself up and falls over a rock and knocks himself out. These men then capture him and they take him to some facility where they kind of strip him naked and shower him. And it turns out that these men are working for Victor Strand, and the place they've taken him to is Victor Strand's massive skyscraper, which he's dubbed the Tower, I believe. And that's a bit of a coincidence because I think in the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners VR game, I think there's a skyscraper community in that game as well, which is also called the Tower. So yeah, I don't think the writers did that on purpose, but yeah, it's an interesting coincidence nonetheless. So it appears that there's been a bit of a time skip since the end of last season, because at the end of last season, Victor is basically alone in the tower with that dude from the Mandalorian, whose name, sorry, I don't know yet, but it's just them two. And now when we see him in this building, he's basically got an entire group there. He's got an entire community there. So I guess somehow he got all Ginny's Rangers over to that building, and I guess he's gathered up and recruited more people, so it appears quite a lot of time has progressed since the end of last season. And I guess maybe when it comes to seeing Morgan and we see how old Morgan's baby is, that will give us some indication as to how much time has passed. As for Victor Strand himself, I mean, he looks like some kind of communist party leader. He's in this really just obscene military uniform, military get-up, and it's a weird look, but you know what? I actually think he pulls it off, because Strand he's always been over the top, right? Strand has always been this kind of flamboyant character, he likes to kind of use big words, he likes his art, he likes that kind of stuff. So I totally can imagine him wearing this, and acting like a military leader. And I think that Coleman Domingo, who plays Strand, is possibly the only dude who can actually pull this look off. I mean, if you look at this dude's Instagram, he wears a lot of colourful shit. And I don't think I could get away with wearing this stuff. I don't think I could pull this off. But yeah, he manages to look pretty good, I think, in this kind of clothes. And like I said, I don't think I could pull it off. Or could I? Strand has a conversation with Will, and he decides that Will might not be the type of person that he wants to be part of his revolution, and he basically says that he has to go, and he tells his men to get rid of him. And it's important to note that he does this whilst wearing that crazy uniform which I mentioned a moment ago, while sitting at a table holding an umbrella, eating some strawberries. And yeah, it's just really funny. I mean, I've seen some people describe Strand, in this episode as cartoonish, and this is definitely a cartoonish thing to do, right? It's very, cartoony villain to be sitting there looking like this evil dude with the umbrella, eating your food or whatever. But I don't know, I just found it funny. I thought it was funny, the fact that Strand gave so little fucks about this dude. There he is, just eating his strawberries, does not have a care in the world. I liked it. I think he suits the villain role. I wasn't sure about him being a villain before this season. And, there are still things that I'm not sure about, in terms of the kind of explanation for him being a villain, which I'll get to a bit later. But for him playing the role, I think he pulls it off. And yes, it is cartoonish. Yes, it is silly, but I don't know. It made me laugh. I want to see more of it. I actually liked it. So before Strand can remove Will, he finds that Will has this St. Christopher necklace on him, which I believe must have been in Alicia's possession last. I can't exactly remember. So please, someone fill me in the comments, because I remember, didn't Daniel have it? I don't know if he gave it to Alicia. I don't know. But anyway, Strand is searching for Alicia. He wants to find Alicia, and he looks at this St. Christopher necklace, and he says to Will, right, if you take me to where you find it, you can stay with me. So take me there. And then the two go and set off and go to where Will found the necklace. Whilst trying to get to the location where Will found the necklace, Will and Strand come to blows, because Will says to Strand, oh, how long have you been looking for her? Or why are you looking for her? Or something like that. And Strand says, hang on, I didn't tell you I was looking for a girl. How do you know I'm looking for Alicia? Because he didn't say anything about Alicia prior to that point. So he thinks that Will's leading him into some kind of trap. And then, the two come to blows. But then they're interrupted by this group called the Stalkers, who I think Will says are stealing stuff from the undead or ripping their skin off. I can't remember, but I guess the Stalkers are going to be another antagonistic group who we'll see throughout this season. And basically what happens is Will is left on his own, and Strand goes off without him. And then Strand stops at this lighthouse, and I guess he stops at a lighthouse because it's getting dark and it must be next to the bunker where Alicia is, so he stops there and rests there for the night. And whilst he's in the lighthouse, Will catches up with him and goes in the lighthouse with him. Will tells Strand at this point that he knows Alicia because he was in the bunker with Alicia, and there were also a lot of other people in the bunker with her, and then Alicia became the leader of these people. And I was under the impression that Alicia was the only person in the bunker. I mean, we weren't told anything otherwise when she was put in there last season, but it turns out there were other people in there with her as well, and Alicia became their leader. And obviously this happened during the time skip in between the seasons, but I don't know, I would have rather have seen Alicia, you know, grow as a leader and take over this group. I was expecting to see actually some scenes of them in the bunker, you know, see some scenes of Alicia working her way around the bunker the next time we saw her and her becoming the leader and whatever. But no, it just turns out that happened in between seasons and Alicia got elected. I don't know how she became a leader, but Alicia took the role of the leader of this group. And I don't know, this was something that I would have liked to have seen rather than, you know, have just been told by this character that was what happened. Will and Strand don't actually find Alicia this episode, and I'll get to talking about that a bit later, but the impression I got from the season premiere is that I feel that much of this first half of the season is going to be the mystery of where is Alicia, right? They're going to be trying to find Alicia, or, you know, certainly maybe Strand will be. I don't know about the rest of the characters because they're all split up anyway, aren't they? But yeah, I don't really know how I feel about that, to be honest. Yeah, only time will tell. I would rather see Alicia sooner rather than later, to be honest, but we'll see how the season goes. Will then reveals to Strands that he was kicked out of Alicia's group for, well, we don't know why, he never says why, he was just kicked out of Alicia's group, and he believes that if he can bring Strand back to Alicia, then it will, for some reason, put him in Alicia's good books and she'll take him back. And I don't know, I just kind of found what happened next, the dialogue between these two and the kind of forced rivalry that this show is trying to build between Strand and Alicia and the whole dynamic between these characters. It was easily the weakest part of the episode for me, because we then get some very cliche dialogue from Will when he says to Strand that, you know, to be a leader, you have to believe in people and then they believe in you. And it's just really poor dialogue. And basically, you know, the impression that the show is trying to make is that Alicia is a leader whose people respect her and she respects them, vice versa. Whereas Strand is like this monarch who is the leader. He makes all the choices, you know, he does what he thinks is best and that's how he rules. And then Strand says that he's going to find Alicia himself to prove to Alicia that his way of leading is correct. And Will then says, no, you can't do that, because she will hate you. And I don't really understand what the point of any of this is, because, I mean, why would Strand going to Alicia, why would Alicia hate Strand if he found her? I mean, only a moment ago, Will was saying that he wants to take Strand to Alicia. And then also, what is the point of Strand saying, I'm going to prove to Alicia that my way of leading is correct? Like, will she really care? Why does she care? Who cares whose way of leading is correct? Alicia can lead her people her way. You can lead your people your way. It's not like your people are at war with each other. So who cares, you know, how you lead your people? Why does it matter? Why do you need to prove to her that your way of leading is correct? I don't really understand the whole Alicia versus Strand angle that this show is trying to create at this point. It doesn't really make much sense to me. After this conversation, the lighthouse is surrounded by walkers, and basically Strand goes outside to fight them whilst Will puts the light on, and then Strand has to try and kind of stay in the light's kind of path as it goes round, just to try and stay in that and fight off walkers, and then the light goes out and he also has to deal with fog as well as the low visibility. And I thought it was a really good action sequence, actually. I really like seeing Strand use his sword, you know. I don't think Strand has had too many action scenes on this show, but, you know, I watched this scene and it kind of makes you feel that Strand is a bit of a badass. I liked it. Will and Strand then make it to the bunker where Alicia was, and it's been completely abandoned. And I think Will makes a remark that he says that there was like 140 people in there or something. So again, it was a bit bizarre that Teddy didn't mention that last season, or we were never given the impression that there were any other people apart from Alicia down there. But I don't know, maybe that was part of his grand plan, who knows. And then they get to this room and there's a letter from Alicia to Will, and it turns out that Will loves Alicia, or loved her, so I guess these two are in a relationship. And the letter from Alicia to Will, all it says on it is the word padre, and the word padre is obviously Spanish for dad. So I don't know, maybe Will liked being called daddy by Alicia in the bedroom, so this is like a present to him. I don't know. Of course I'm joking. I have no idea what this means, but I guess that's going to be part of the mystery of finding Alicia this season. It's at this point that Strand then retracts what he said earlier about finding Alicia and the need to prove a point to her, and he basically says that it was about proving a point to himself and proving that he didn't need Alicia. And I don't know, again, I don't really like this wishy-washy dialogue. Oh, it was about proving it to myself, I don't need you, like, I don't know, it just came off as a bit corny. I didn't really like all this talk about, oh, I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to prove to her, etc. that we got a lot this episode. In some parts the dialogue was a bit weak. The episode ends with Strand, Will, and his assistant on the top of the tower, and Strand has commandeered the light from the lighthouse, and he's got it up there, and it's, flashing on the roof, and Will says that, oh, this is a really good idea because this light stretches out like 15 miles or whatever it is, and Alicia will see it and she'll come to you. And apologies for this car alarm which is going off outside. But anyway, Strand then says that no, the point isn't to attract Alicia. The point is to use the light to keep her away. And what he means by that is that the light is attracting walkers to the tower downstairs. So he's going to have like this literal barrier preventing Alicia and anyone else from getting to him. And I think that this works quite well as a metaphor because since last season, since, Strand sided with Ginny and became a ranger, he has put this barrier up in his mind, this barrier up in which he doesn't want to get close to people. He wants to keep people away from him because he believes that attachments make you weak. So he's put this barrier up in his mind. Here he has these walkers, which are now a literal barrier. So I think it does work as a nice metaphor. But in practicality, in the real world, I don't really think it makes a lot of sense because, let's be honest, it's a bit fucking stupid to draw a lot of walkers towards where you live. Like, I get maybe he has barricades downstairs and maybe he has guards down there clearing the walkers if they get in. But how many times on The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead have we seen walkers build up outside a building and it only takes one of them to break through a window or to get in and then the whole thing collapses? And it's a bit stupid that you're putting all your people in danger here. Drawing all these walkers towards you. Just build a fucking fence. Why do you need all these walkers outside? It's just asking for trouble. I don't know. It just felt a bit dumb. I mean, maybe this shows how far Strand is at the moment. Maybe he's so far gone that he would endanger his own people by putting walkers downstairs, walkers outside his home just to stop other people coming in because he's that resistant to seeing new people and having people get close to him. So maybe that shows the state of his mind, but I still kind of think that it's just a bit stupid, and I can see what's going to happen. I think it's pretty obvious that at some point this season, these walkers are going to get into his tower, and then what's probably going to happen is Morgan and Alicia will save him, and then Strand will come to the realization that, oh, you do need other people after all. And if the season ends like this, and I'm saying this in the first fucking episode, if this ends like this, then, well, I don't really know. But you owe me something, AMC, for me predicting it in the first episode. You owe me. Next, we come on to Will's death. So when Strand tells Will about the purpose of the light, Will then says that, oh no, you can't stop Alicia. She will find you and you two will make this place a better place together. And then Strand grabs him, throws him off the roof and says, no, she won't come near me now anymore because she won't want anything to do with me because I guess she's going to be pissed off that he's killed Will. And it's a cool line, it's a cool delivery. I like what they did with Strand. I like, him being this evil villain, throwing people off roofs. I did think it was quite cool. But again, I do have questions about it. When you think about it a bit more, I do kind of think, does this really make sense? Because Strand says, oh, Alicia won't want anything to do with me now because I've killed you. But if Alicia really liked Will that much, why did she kick him out of her group in the first place? That is, unless Will was lying about being kicked off and, he was part of that was part of his mission to find Strand or something. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like, if Alicia liked you that much, she wouldn't have let you go. And how is Alicia going to know that Will is dead? Because he's now a walker and he's part of this massive group of walkers downstairs. So unless Alicia somehow comes into contact with these walkers, she's not even going to know that Will is dead. And even if she does find him dead, how is she going to know that Strand killed him? So Strand's line, oh, she won't have anything to do with me now. Why? She's not going to know you killed him? Will she care? I don't know. Like I said, it's a cool line. It makes Strand look villainous, but when you think about it a bit more, I was like, this doesn't actually make any sense. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I just think there's a lot of stuff in this episode, when you think about it a bit more, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure about this. Overall, I do enjoy this episode a lot, but it does seem like the kind of Strand-Alicia dynamic and Strand's motivations, it all kind of seems a bit vague at the moment, and I understand it's only the first episode of the season, so I'm willing to overlook it, and hopefully it's explained in a bit more detail, but I have a lot of questions at the moment, and I just hope they're answered, because, yeah, a lot of it kind of feels forced, oh, I'm going to prove I'm right. I'm going to prove she's wrong. Oh, she won't have anything to do with me. And it's like, well, I'm not really sure about any of this. But, overall, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was entertaining. Like I said, it was a vast improvement on 6B in my opinion. I think that Fear the Walking Dead is just much better when the episodes focus on one or two characters rather than trying to juggle its huge bloated cast, and I liked it. And hopefully, the rest of the season continues in the same vein. I think much of 7A is going to be like bottle episodes like this, and I like the bottle episodes from last season, so if it's the same as 6A, then 7A should be very good. So this episode has flaws, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hopefully I'll have the episode 2 review up soon, because I know some of you are going to watch that on AMC Plus, or is it out normally? No, I think it's out AMC Plus tomorrow, isn't it? Or today. I'm recording on the 17th when I'm recording this video, so yeah, I will try and get those out midweek and have caught up to where AMC Plus is, maybe, depending on how I feel. I still don't feel 100%. But anyway, yeah, I will see you all very soon. Goodbye, my friends. That was fucking weird. Bye.
A big thank you to all my best buddies. Thanks, guys.